Hello everyone and welcome to the MBH Corps YouTube channel. My name is Lisa Maynard-Atem. We are here once again for our monthly board chat with our CEO, Callum Laing. So, hello Callum, how are you today?
Hi Lisa, I'm very well, thank you, and looking forward to this call.
Me too. So I thought we'd kick off first with a chat about the recent win for Acacia, the provider of the apprentice provider of the year. Obviously a fantastic achievement for them. So I thought, yeah, we could kick off and hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool to see Vicky and the team recognised for all the work that they're doing, and just incredible that they were competing for that award against three huge educational establishments. So they really were the minnow, and to come out on top is fantastic. And this is Vicky herself has won a whole bunch of awards recently. So she won 2 Entrepreneur of the Year awards last year, and it's just it's a real privilege to work alongside her. So I was very pleased to see that. And I think you saw, anyone that saw the video of that, how much it meant to Vicky as well. And I think that's when you're a small business owner, you don't do it for the external recognition, but sometimes it's very nice to have that, and especially after the last year or so, you could see how much it meant to her, which was fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought, it just shows as well as a company how dedicated they are to their apprentices. And as well, it brought to mind something that Kieran said during the principals event, that the award for Acacia is testament to the quality of the businesses that are within the MBH family. And I think that kind of summarizes it perfectly. But yeah, I thought her acceptance speech was really, really sweet. It was really nice. So I'm really, really pleased. So congratulations to them. Moving on, I thought we could talk about Guildprime, because I know that they have recently been awarded 2 new high-profile contracts, one of them being a Premier League football club.
Yeah, so Guildprime has an incredible client list over the years. It's really the who's who of top-end fashion. They've done the interior fit out of so many high-end retail stores, both in the UK and in Europe, and even down in the Middle East. But they've also had a very long relationship with Chelsea Football Club, and they've just won another big contract with Chelsea. In fact, they're probably coming to the end of completing it, because the challenge with Premiership football teams, especially when you're working on the stadium, is there's a limited amount of time before the season starts, and it's not like you can ask them to push it back a bit. So I know the team's been working flat out on that. Yeah, great client to have. And like I said, I think they've been working together for well over a decade. So yeah, it's just another company that their client list just blows me away. It's brilliant.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that they maybe get a contract with Manchester United, and then maybe I can score a few tickets. So fingers crossed.
And blue through and through.
Oh, okay. Well, I can dream. Anyway, I thought we would talk about new acquisitions next, because in our last chat, you did mention that it'd been a while. It was the first month in a while that MBH hadn't done any acquisitions. So I was just wondering, are there any new acquisitions or anything in the pipeline that you can share with us?
Yes. So I mean, interestingly, the reasons for the delays are something that we're seeing across all the businesses, both in the group and in our pipeline, which is everyone's just flat out at the moment. I think the problems have shifted from not being able to get enough clients because of lockdown and those restrictions to not having the resource to serve all the clients through the supply chain issues or the staffing. So a lot of the companies that we've got in our pipeline are just flat out. They love the model. They really want to be in it. But when they've got huge contracts knocking on the door, that has to be the priority. And then we're completely fine with that. These are good problems to have. So we're sort of like, okay, come back in 3 months when you've got that sorted. But yeah, so it's been a couple of months, 2 or 3 months now since we announced an acquisition, but it's not because of a shortage of deals. Our pipeline is looking very full. It's just different priorities for different companies. I don't think it will be long before we have an announcement to talk about.
Oh, exciting. Just a question actually that I wanted to ask. You've mentioned there on obviously a lot of businesses have been having problems and issues. And in, with my other hat on, with my BREN hat on, I talk to like businesses and entrepreneurs all the time. I was wondering, Callum, do you have any advice for entrepreneurs and small businesses as to how they can navigate, how they can deal with problems, like, and avoiding things like procrastination and things like that? I think it'd be good to hear your thoughts.
Just put procrastination off to another day. I think, look, I think one of the advantages that we have with the MBH group is the average age of the companies in the group is about 23 years or something. So the business owners in the group all have a huge amount of experience when it comes to dealing with things. And so I think and you get experience from making mistakes. So I think the advice to younger entrepreneurs is just to get out there and do stuff, try things, shake trees, talk to people, just be out there, talking to your clients, proposing solutions. And look, the majority of things aren't going to work, but you've got to keep getting out there and experimenting and not taking failure personal and getting back on the horse and doing it. And ultimately, like I say, those failures become the experience, and that experience is what allows things to theoretically get easier as you get bigger. Now, the reality is it doesn't get easier as you get bigger. All that happens is you end up dealing with bigger challenges. But look, that's what we signed up to as entrepreneurs. It's to solve problems and create value in the world. So yeah, I guess the advice is just to get out there and try things, and don't worry too much about it.
I think someone once said to me, it's not about necessarily having problems, because you're always going to have problems. What you want to have is good quality problems, like better quality problems. I thought, okay, that's a really interesting way to look at it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stood out to me, one of the books that I used to read over and over again as a young entrepreneur was the original version. It's been updated many times since, but the original version of Losing My Virginity by Richard Branson. And there's a particular chapter in that when he's talking about his new, he basically bet everything on this one plane, his new airline, and on their inaugural test flights, they hit a flock of birds and his engine blows up. And I think at the time he was like in his late 20s or early 30s. I just thought, the size of the challenges that he's dealing with dwarf anything that I was dealing with, and I used to find that quite inspiring to think, well, look, if he was able to deal with that, he was £3 million in debt at that point, the bank wouldn't extend his overdraft, and yet he still had to make all this happen, and he found a solution to it. Actually, the best entrepreneurs that we know, the most successful ones that we know, are the ones that are taking on more responsibility than anyone else, and consequently they're dealing with bigger problems than anyone else. So yeah, I found that book a great inspiration.
I'll make sure I check that book out. Next, I thought we would talk about the Freedom Day, as we called it here. So obviously last week, all of the remaining restrictions in England were lifted. And I was just wondering that following the lifting of those restrictions, has there been any immediate impact for any of the businesses within the MBH family?
Well, I'm very jealous because here in Singapore, we've just gone back down into full lockdown for another month with, I think, about 1% of your daily cases. Look, different countries are dealing with it in different ways. I think from what I'm hearing from the companies on the ground, they are proceeding with caution. It's not the sort of masks off, running around naked like everyone was expecting. It's a bit more reserved than that. But also, look, they've spent the last 15 months putting in place contingency plans, putting in place ways of working. And so it doesn't really feel like there's been a massive change in the operations of these businesses. There's a few things they're doing. For example, the taxi companies, they're not changing. The taxi drivers are still wearing masks. They're still disinfecting the cars after every passenger. Just sensible precautions. So I don't think it's really made too much impact to the companies.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Finally, you did a piece for Business Times, Rise of Racism, an opinion piece. And I thought it'd be good to kind of touch on that, obviously, with all the recent instances of racism that sports people have experienced, the England footballers, and more recently Lewis Hamilton. So I thought it might be good to kind of talk about that and trying to get some more thoughts from you on that.
Yeah, so I was asked to write a short piece because there've actually been some instances of racism here in Singapore, which is often heralded as one of the most successfully multicultural countries in the world. And the point that I was making is that, look, when people are under extreme duress, stress, they tend to look around for people to blame, and the easy targets tend to be minorities, Muslims, and millionaires. And all three of those groups have been attacked in various levels. And what I was trying to do was point to a couple of things. First of all, as horrendous as it is and as frustrating as it is to be still having this conversation, I tend to, I find the leadership or the lack of responsibility of the leadership of countries, companies, communities to be far more pernicious than you're always going to have idiots that are obnoxious on the street or are offensive from their keyboard warriors. But what concerns me is when you've got politicians that are really not taking steps. You've got companies that are talking a good story, but really not doing much to follow it up. And one of the things that really appealed, and you and I did a talk recently on BREN, and I think that video will be coming out on YouTube very, very soon. But one of the things that I really like and appreciate about BREN is that you make it very simple for companies that want to do the right thing to take steps. And I think oftentimes when you look at companies, and I know that the frustration, but when you look at a lot of companies, they do want to do the right things, but they often don't know how to do the right thing. And I think what I was so impressed with when we first met and I learned about BREN was how you give really easy, concrete steps that can actually start to help those companies make a difference. And I know we have talked about it on a separate video, that it'd be great to just do a quick recap of what BREN is for those that don't know and what you're doing.
Yeah, of course. So BREN is focused on the economic and social empowerment of the Black community. We have been going for just over a year. So we started on the 25th of February 2020 and then paused, obviously, because of lockdown. Then following the murder of George Floyd, all of our activities started up again. So we found we were getting quite a lot of media attention. We were getting contacted by a lot of brands and individuals who, as you said, were wanting to kind of do something but didn't know where to start. So we were just we were on a bit of a back step, to be honest, because we weren't expecting this deluge of attention, but it was fantastic. But in terms of our pillars, we have three key pillars. The first one being leadership, because currently, if you were to look at the region that we're based in, there's only one Black person in a senior leadership role, and that's only happened very, very recently. So leadership and building a pipeline of Black leaders is one of our core pillars. The second one is around capacity building Black organizations. So what you tend to find is that there are a lot of barriers for Black organizations in terms of equality of opportunity, access to finance, access to networks. So what we're doing is we're working with organisations to capacity build them so that they are contract ready and they can tender for both public and private sector contracts. And then our third pillar is around international trade, and we have been working with the Department for International Trade to host events which will help to establish BREN as the gateway to doing trade with Africa and the Caribbean, which is really exciting. And aside from that, we run a number of initiatives, Board Apprentice being one of them, which obviously I'm the Board Apprentice for MBH, which just gives Black professionals with senior management experience the opportunity to shadow a board for 12 months. And then another initiative that we're working on is called Advisory Board, and that's where we give Black-led organisations the opportunity to tap into their own board of advisors completely free for a period of 12 months. And we're just we're going through our first cohort at the moment, and we're going to be onboarding our second cohort in the coming months. So it's a really interesting and exciting time for us. And like you said, we're getting a lot of organisations coming to us because they want to do something, but they don't know where to start, and they're worried about the language. They don't want to cause any offence. They don't want to say the wrong thing. So we are finding that a lot of companies are coming to us saying, look, we need your help. We want to do something, but we don't know exactly what to do. So it's a really, really interesting time for us. Like you said, it's disappointing that we're still having to have these conversations, but if it means that things are going to move in a positive direction, then I think, you know, it's worth having the conversation and carry on pushing it forward.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love what you're doing, and yeah, it's been great working with you, and hopefully we will see some more ways to work together and more Black organisations in MBH and beyond.
Definitely, that would be fantastic to see.
Yeah.
Is there anything, before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to chat about or discuss?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, and hopefully on our next call we can talk about the latest acquisition.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Callum. I look forward to our next catch up. And for everyone watching, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like this video and share it and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.